Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Please remember to like and subscribe the channel. And if you have any additional comments or questions, feel free to send me a message at any time. And as soon as I'm back online, I will be happy to answer that question. Sonia Gallion-Comanica here, SoniaGallion-Comanica.com, the author of 10 Things I Wish I Knew as a Single Parent, where we talk about all things single parents. And we spend a lot of time talking about your finances because finances are very critical for single parents for many reasons. And we're going to be talking a lot about finances, divorce, domestic violence, and how this impacts the life of a single parent. So domestic violence impacts your finances in many ways. So we're going to talk today about some of the new rules, the highlights of the new 401k rules, because there is something integrated in there for domestic violence victims and survivors. So pull up a chair, get your coffee, get your tea, get your muffin, and let's just do a deep dive into this. So the 401k, as you know, is a retirement program that is offered through companies, and it can also be offered if you're self-employed. And this year, the limits have increased. The federal government regulates it, the IRS regulates it. So we're going to just do a deep dive into 10 things to know about the new 401k rules. Are you ready? Awesome. Number one. The contribution limit, for example, has increased to $23,000 annually for employees. So this money comes out of your account, out of your paycheck, pre-tax dollars. So most of the time you won't even recognize it's being removed because typically you get a paycheck, taxes are taken out, and then you use it to pay your expenses. But when you have money withdrawn for your retirement funds, that money gets taken out pre-tax dollars, which lowers your tax liability and gives you something to put away for a later date. So $23,000 is fantastic. It is a bit higher for self-employed folks. I think it's gone up to about $69,000. And there's catch-up funds, which is about, for anybody who's over the age of 50, where you can put an additional $7,500 in. So that's pretty cool. And that money is protected, of course, from creditors. We're going to get into more of that later, but we're going to be talking a lot this week about 401k, life insurance, different retirement things, and how to protect yourself as a single parent and a survivor of domestic violence. So number two, penalty-free withdrawals if you qualify, effective in 2024. Typically, if you are under the age of 59 and a half, there is an IRS imposed 10% penalty on retirement products. So right now it's penalty-free withdrawals, but you do have to qualify for it. That's the only thing. If you withdraw the money and it's not for a qualified reason, they can fine you. It is actually considered criminal at a certain point. So number three, $1,000 per year to cover personal and family emergencies without penalty, which is also fantastic. $1,000 per year to cover personal and family emergencies. So that's really good. Normally you cannot just withdraw from a 401k, especially even $1,000. Why would you? Most of the time it's your retirement fund, but they're allowing it right now. So there are a little bit of leniency going on there. Number four, solo 401k limits, as I mentioned earlier, $69,000 with catch-up additional money of $7,500. So if you are a solo 401k, meaning you're self-employed, you can put in $69,000 pre-tax money. That means your tax liability is a lot less, and that money is going into your retirement fund. So that's pretty significant, especially on $100K, $200K, $300K, $1 million annual revenue. You want to be able to put something aside for yourself, for your family, for later. So that's pretty exciting. There's also something else that's pretty interesting that has never happened before in the history of the 401k, and the federal government is allowing domestic abuse survivors to take out withdrawals of $10,000 or 50% of the account, whichever is less. Now, this is unusual, and this is something that's really important because we're seeing a lot of domestic violence situations happening right now. There are people saying, I only had $700 left in my account. There are people losing everything from entertainers to actresses to all different types of people. So domestic abuse survivors being able to access $10,000 in funds, it frees up the federal government, it frees up the shelters, it allows you the freedom of movement. I would say, do not make a movement, even though you are in a situation of domestic violence, without first having the money in your account. Do not do anything. Do not expect that the money's going to come, and then you move out of the home, the children are now homeless, you're in a shelter. Get the money first and then find housing or find whatever you need to take care of yourself. So this is a wonderful thing the federal government is offering from the 401k for domestic violence survivors. Number 6, starter 401ks. Starter 401ks, typically for the self-employed, you can add $6,000 annually, which is typical to what you would add to a Roth IRA, depending on obviously your income limit. But now your starter 401k has a $6,000 annual limit and a $1,000 catch-up. They always do this thing that's called catch-up for those who are 50 and older, so you can get a head start on your retirement benefits. So the starter 401k, it looks and acts like a 401k. Employer contributions aren't required for this one, but you will at least have some level of retirement money set aside, and then you can put that money aside for your retirement or for whatever. Another really great thing in 2024 is employers can now match the 401k contributions to employees who are paying off their student loans. Isn't that amazing? So I'm not sure the exact limit on that. You might want to check with your accountant on that one. But if you're paying off student loans, they can actually match that, and that's pretty powerful. There are some teachers out there who will teach you pay off your debt first and then retire, have retirement money. But you want to be doing the two. They should be coinciding simultaneously. You want to be saving money and putting money aside as well and paying off your debt so that after your debt is paid, you still have something to live on and something for your retirement. Number 8, something to think about. The plan for the hardship withdrawal. So you have these new rules, these new limits in 2024 where you can take out $1,000 to cover personal expenses or $10,000 for domestic violence survivors and those who are abused. Nevertheless, the IRS always has a little caveat in there. There's a little something. If your expenses can be covered by an insurance company, then they will not cover this hardship. So there's always little things, these highlights that are great, but there's always these little rules on the side you got to be careful of. Because 1, you got to qualify for this, and 2, if it can be covered by some other tool, whether insurance, whatever, they will not cover it. So make sure you understand it. And you've got to also make sure that your 401k even allows hardship. Some 401ks don't even allow hardship withdrawal. So keep that in mind as well. Number 9, there are tax obligations associated with a hardship withdrawal. So you will probably have to pay taxes on this. So keep that in mind as well. For domestic violence survivors, I would not worry about that in the beginning, but just know eventually taxes might be taken out, before you get the money. And that's okay. If you're worried about your safety and your children, the first priority is your family. Then we'll worry about the tax obligations, but just keep that in the back of your mind. The other thing, and this is typical for a 401k, is when you take out a hardship withdrawal, number 10, you cannot contribute to the account for 6 months. So you will no longer be allowed to contribute to that account for 6 months. So before you withdraw the money, you got to just take all these things into consideration and account. And then you decide, do I need it? Is there some other way I can get money? Maybe a personal loan or life insurance or something else. But these are all really great things. These are just some highlights of the 401k new rules for 2024. So I'm just going to do a recap of that for you, which is number 1, the contribution limit has increased for employees to $23,000 annually. That's powerful. Number 2, penalty-free withdrawals if you qualify. If you don't, you will have to repay it. Number 3, $1,000 per year to cover personal and family emergency expenses. Number 4, solo 401k limits are up to $69,000 with catch-up amount of $75,000, which brings that to about like $76,000 or so, which is pretty interesting. Number 5, domestic abuse survivors can make hardship withdrawals of $10,000 or 50% of the account, whichever is less. Number 6, starter 401k that looks and acts like a 401k. Employer contributions aren't required. It has a $6,000 annual limit with a $1,000 catch-up for those 50 and older. Number 7, employers can match the 401k contributions to employees who are paying off their student loans. So that's pretty interesting. Number 8, plan must permit hardship withdrawals. So you have to have a plan that permits the hardship withdrawal, or you can't take out a hardship withdrawal to begin with. And if the expenses can be covered by an insurance company or some other means, they will not cover it. So keep that in mind. Number 9, tax obligations are with hardship withdrawals. You're going to have to pay taxes. And number 10, you won't be able to contribute to the account for 6 months after the hardship. So these are the new rules. Check them out. See what applies for you. Do you need this? Is there some other tool you can use? Again, Sonia Gallen-Komanika, SoniaGallen-Komanika.com, and the author of 10 Things I Wish I Knew as a Single Parent, where we talk about all things single parents and your finances. Have an amazing day. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel.